Hello to viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Camera Tuesday, we're going to talk about DJI Inspire 3. So let's dive right into it. Now, the reason why this camera is making such a hype is that you have to understand for people who have unlimited budget, those people generally have this sort of equipment. Only difference is the drone is custom built for their shoot, and the camera is basically a cinema camera. If they are shooting in RE, they just put a RE. If they are shooting in red, they just put a red. Those can be done. Only problem with the cost is so high that it's in the category where if you have to ask it, you can't afford it. So super duper idiotically expensive. So this puppy is lower cost option of that. So a 35mm full frame 8K capable video camera which has interchangeable lens unit, meaning you are no longer limited by just one focal length, you can change it. And it is a flying camera platform, because when you are talking about something like a cinema grade, it's more of a different people taking care of different things, meaning you could have one person whose sole job is figuring out the framing, one person focus, another person flying the damn drone. So those sort of things are not done by quote-unquote drone, those are done by flying camera platform, meaning these things are designed in such a way that multiple people can take care of multiple responsibilities. And the cost is very low cost, $18,000. Now you be mindful, on their side the cost is low, but if you buy that you will not get any raw functionality because you have to buy a raw license. That's why I'm saying $18,000. To put that number in Indian context, that's 15 lakh rupees, Indian rupees. I'm pretty sure by the time it comes to in India, it's very expensive. So this is not a wedding drone. Let that be very clear. Unless you are shooting basically weddings of ludicrously rich people, this is not something that you can afford. This is like a medium to high budget movie kind of scenario. Now, even the first person view that is dedicated for the operator, the pilot, that's also is full HD. That also works at 60 frames per second, and the field of view is so wide that you can see almost everything, and it's low light capable, meaning the aperture is kind of wide. So this puppy, in terms of quality, in terms of output, can beat many drones that people use for cinema. So let that sink in. Like, this itself is good enough. And then when you are talking about the gimbal that is on there, that is handling the camera, that gimbal has 360-degree basically freedom. Now how the heck it achieves that? Well, it achieves that is basically by moving the copter side of it, the quadcopter side of thing, up. Benefit of that, this gets clear view. It can look at 180 degrees without any issue. No drones, basically no blades will come into the shot, nor any legs. So it will be completely unobstructed, really good. However, there is a limitation. If you really wanted to tilt the lens up, you can't do that, truly, practically speaking, because the rotors will start to come in the frame. So they created a different method where the basically instead of going up, it will go down and then it can tilt up. So that's why they are specifying is that not only it has 360 pan, it also has tilt boost. Now in the last generation of this, basically version 2, they could have done that 360 part. That was the whole idea of having the swap, moving flying part of it, but that tilt boost requires it to come down again. So that's the whole point of it. So what about the camera? Now camera has dual native ISO, 800 ISO and 4000 ISO. Now why that is such a big deal? Well, you have to understand, there is only two things you control in basically whenever you're talking of photography, specifically digital. You only control the exposure time, meaning how long is the exposure, and you only control the aperture to control the light flow. Then you're like, what about ISO? There is no ISO. There is only one gain setting that you gain directly coming off the basically the sensor itself. It's creating a signal that is going to what we call analog to digital converter, and that's creating a bit of value. The end. And what about the ISO setting that you do is just a gain value that is mathematically applied. So you can just take a photo and just increase the gain in basically Lightroom. You will find that matches surprisingly quickly to what you can see in the dark with using your camera on board ISO. So that's why you have to have two ISOs. So the reason you need two circuitry is basically if you have a circuitry that is aimed for 800 ISO, it would be really good at daytime shooting. But if you went to nighttime, the noise output would be too high. Now, so you create a second circuit. Second circuit basically is second analog to digital converter that is fine-tuned for 4000 ISO. Now, why do you need these two? Well, here's again, the values are arbitrary. You can have whatever value you have to. So daytime you will shoot in one, so color rendition would be really good. If you use the basically high sensitivity one in daytime, it will be blown out. The colors would be messed up. That's why you need two settings. So it has dual ISO system. That's why you hear people talking about dual gain, dual gain, dual gain. So that's why this is such a big deal. And it can do 8K 75 frame per second at ProRes RAW. Now this is the most odd thing that I found, that it can do 8K 25 frame per second at Cinema DNG. So it finds very odd. It's like, unless Cinema DNG is idiotically uncompressible, it does not make sense. Like, it literally feels like there is a licensing agreement, or maybe Cinema DNG as a container is not designed to handle anything more than 25 FPS, which I find odd, but it's really, really odd. I would like to know the detailed reason of it. If you know, please comment down below. Now, it has 14 stops of dynamic range. Is that good enough? Well, it's good enough where a competent basically colorist can take the footage, take the raw data out of it, and color it in such a way that it can be cut between RE, Alexas, and basically red and all that jazz. It can be done, but do not expect it to actually bitch slap them. Like, is it good? Yes. Is it that good? No. It's like, it's competent enough. It's competent. Basically, you can slice between them, but do not expect that somebody's gonna shoot an IMAX movie on this. So this is the whole aspect. And if you use any other format, or you want to figure out what is the color container packaging, that is DJI Cinema Color System. So if you are happy with other DJI products, you can like this puppy also. 360 pan and tilt gimbal, and these are the lenses that they have released. Now, I'm so far not very clear on the fact that can you change the mount itself. Many camera companies are coming up in this market, but they all have the problem, where is the lens? So they generally solve it by creating a scenario where you can change the mount itself. For example, Kfinity. You can buy Kfinity. It has a quote-unquote Kfinity mount, but they don't have that many lenses. So you can literally swap the mount itself from going from basically Kfinity mount to E mount, or you can do EF mount. So the basically DJI has a camera that has like this sort of functionality, and it has the ability to swap the mount itself. They have not talked about that. I could be wrong, but last time I checked, they have not talked about it. But it does make sense, especially if you really want to make it cinema grade. It would make far more sense, rather than just relying on 4 lenses, to swap the lens mount itself. And E mount has the flange distance that is literally similar. I'm not sure about R mount, but it can be done. And these are the moment where it's like basically the wings will be down, basically copters will be down, and the tilt mechanism can work without any issue. And this is the aspect that why I think this is a flying platform, meaning one person sole job, aim the damn thing, another person fly the damn thing, another person focus the damn thing. So that's why it's a more of a system. Basically, you could have at least 2 people trying to take care of it, or 3 or 4 people team trying to manage that puppy. That's why it's more of a platform that you are handling, almost like how back in the days we used to use helicopters, and basically exactly how Top Gun was shot. So this is the camera side of things. So let's talk about some improvements. Now, it has 3 GNSS, Global Navigation Satellite System. Basically GPS, American made, Galileo, European made, Bindu, that is Chinese made. The odd part is somehow Russian is missing. And this is the first time I have seen a Russian system being eliminated from something. This is odd. This is like really, really odd. But it kind of makes sense. Way too many rumors are coming out that basically GLONASS system has not been updated as well as should have been. And in Syrian war, many people found Russian people using basically GPS system. Commercial one, not military grade obviously. But it did not make sense. It's like that you should have GLONASS. It's like, it's not been updated. This kind of confirms it. But it's one of those things. And it also has, because here's the deal, when you are talking about GNSS, no matter what you do, you kind of, at best case scenario, you're only gonna get sub-meter accuracy, and that's being super generous. Realistically, you're gonna get like at least 2 meters kind of sphere. Make a sphere that is 2 meters in diameter, and that's it. You are inside that. That's the best you can do. Now, to give you a context of the precision, that's like cars cannot know which lane they are in. They have to use local context to know. They cannot rely on the mapping system itself. So this puppy goes into RTK. We will always talk about this, real-time kinematics positioning. The benefit of that, they have another rover circuitry. Now this puppy allows centimeter level accuracy, meaning if I'm saying here, it means here. It's not a 2 meter sphere, it's like here, inside my hand. That's how precise it is. Now wait a minute. 3 systems are not good enough. How the heck this puppy is doing that? Well, it's not doing it. That's why I said real-time kinematic positioning system requires a base station, meaning that circuitry, that rover circuitry requires a base station. Once you put the base station, utilizing very complicated mathematics, which I have linked the video down below, basically it can figure out how the atmosphere is changing the signal. And yes, atmosphere does have an effect. But if you know 2 data points where it's like things that are close to each other, basically I have this base station here and drone is here. the atmosphere will not change too much from here to, like, 5 meters next to me. So that gives a very good approximation of what is the atmospheric effect. Now you can cancel that out, and doing or more mathematics on top of that allows you to have centimeter level accuracy, meaning if you say here, it's here. What does that allow? Well, that allows you to fly literally below things. What does that mean? That simply means you can actually fly through a ventilator. That's how tiny these things can be. That's how accurate it can be. But it does require base, meaning you cannot just like, oh, I bought it, the end. You have to buy base, and base is also expensive. They are generally used in construction industry, so those are expensive puppies. Now it also has 3.5 jack for time code injection. Now time code is one of those things for professional people. Shut up, take money, don't ask questions about it. It's important. Time code, having that, really good. It does have USB-C SSD. Now the thing, unfortunately, the SSD is not like a normal NVMe SSD where it's like you can change the SSD part. You have to buy like a whole package. It looks like NVMe. I'm reasonably sure if somebody opened it up, it would be NVMe, but DJI itself does not allow you to change it. So you are stuck kind of buying with their quote unquote max. Thankfully it does have USB-C, meaning once you remove the jacket you can just dump the file, and the USB dumping rate is around 10 Gbps, so you should be able to dump file at almost 900 plus Mbps quite fast. So that's there for the footage. And pilot plus director of photography can utilize two remotes parallelly, meaning you can delegate obligations. Basically you take care of the camera part, you take care of the flying part. That's why these are the improvements they have done. And back in the day they could have done this, but those remote have to be in the same place, meaning the people have to, basically the receiving signal has to be quote unquote piggybacked. Here it can do two independent stream, meaning one person can be on a different end of a stadium and it still work. So these are improvements. So there are also improvements in quality of life, basically things that make your life easy. Because when you're talking about something this expensive, again, not expensive from pro kind of people, but those pro people have people on top of people to take care of people. So meaning they will have one person whose sole job is handle the props, another sole job handle the batteries. And yes, it has to be done that way because those things are dangerously powerful. So here they made everything to be able to be operated by one or two people. So the box that the briefcase they are selling you, again, if they do not give you folding props, you have to literally remove the props, like it had to be done in other versions. Consequence, it's an extra hassle and step. So here they built a folding prop, so you can just put it, fold it, done, go home, sweet dreams. So that's very easy for transportation. Now you may think that's a tiny thing. It's a big thing, especially if you have to do multiple shoot a day. It has 3D waypoint and dolly motion. Now again, that does require base station, and again it will try to use the GPS system and optical collision avoidance system to redo it. But without base station, do not rely, expect them to be like damn precise. So using that, you can literally shoot a scene where it looks like a dolly motion. You can create a waypoint from A to B, create the path, and then it will follow it. So all the pilot has to do is like go back and forth, back and forth. All it has to do is like almost like a dolly. That's the whole point of it. And the charging station is designed such a way that it can take care of 8 batteries at the same time. Now these batteries are also fast chargeable, which is really good. It can go 0 to 90% in around 35 minutes, which is damn fast. Now you may like, why stop at 90%? Here's the last 10% takes too much energy, as in like if you pump that much energy directly into it, it will overheat. So they're like from 0 to some percent, just the electrolytes starts to get flowing, is very difficult. After that electrolytes going around 10%, you can pump that baby up. That's how all your electric cars supercharging works. Now once it reaches full point, is like you have to calm down. So even when this, they have to calm down. So the idea is that you can have enough batteries, enough spare, enough set, and not to mention it can be hot swap, meaning you land the drone, swap the battery while everything is running, and you just put new battery in. It can be done. And charging the fact that it can drop under an hour, and the fact that you can have 8 in one location means you can have multiple shoot without having to worry about it. And all the batteries are specifically designed to be under 100 watt hour, and that's a very critical thing because that allows you to travel with this puppy in an aircraft, because aircrafts have a limitation that if you have more energy than 100 watt hour, it cannot be on carry-ons. So that's an issue. And because they have much better antenna geometry, much better subsystems, they have reduced the need for compass calibration again and again. Meaning back in the day, sometimes you could be in a position where you have to calibrate compass every time you have to take off, and it's very annoying. Here it's like, again, there is not mathematical data for this sort of thing. It's like you have to do 10,000 tests to figure it out. Is that they have reduced the need, and they are saying as much as 80%, meaning instead of recalibrating this puppy every day, once a day, to once a week or maybe once a month. That's the idea behind it. And it can give you 25 minutes of flight time. Now be mindful, the flight time they are saying it's not real flight time, because again, the moment battery goes low enough, it will come back home. It will not allow you to go down to zero. So, and not to mention, they say windless condition. It's like, where on the planet you stay that you have windless system? Like what open area has windless? Like every area has a wind. You can have very low wind, that can be arranged, but you will never have no wind. So that's one of those things. But again, overall the system is not made for common people. It's made for somewhere from medium budget to high budget to ultra budget. It's like, it does not make sense. They can directly use red, they can directly use the camera that they are using. If they are using Sony Vegas, they can just put Sony Vegas. If they are using basically RE, they can just put RE. They do not need to come down to this level. This is more of like, high-end basically commercial works, high-end cinema work, but not pro god tier, basically not MCU level. But it's an interesting tool, and I really like the little touches they have done that makes your life easier. I do not like the NVMe lockdown NVMe part, but what can you do? So this was my presentation on basically DJI Inspire 3. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment, because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.